In recent years, vintage toys based on characters in the hugely successful Star Wars films have become highly collectible. These boxed figures now often sell for hundreds of pounds, and the very rare ones sell for thousands. But there's a disturbance in the world of Star Wars collectibles. This figure, and thousands like it, are not what they appear to be. Dark forces have been at work.
Is Darth Vader my father?
George Lucas's iconic Star Wars trilogy spawned a very lucrative line in merchandise.
The year is 1978, and Palatoy bring you Star Wars.
Back in the late 70s, these figures, manufactured and marketed by Palatoy, were the best-selling toy in the world. The action figures fired the imagination of many a wannabe Jedi, but these days they've become a much sought-after collectible, with a great deal of that demand coming from the generation that grew up with the films. Jason Smith is one of these collectors. 10 years ago, he came across his boyhood collection of Star Wars figures again, and a missing part re-sparked his passion for them.
It was about 10 years ago. I got my original figures from when I was visiting my mum and dad and noticed that I'd lost the blaster on the Princess Leia, and thought, oh, it'd be really nice if I could just have an original blaster. So I went on eBay, bought one figure to get this blaster, and then thought, oh, the next 8 figures that I never got as a kid, wouldn't it be nice just to have those? So I then went and bid on those and got those 8 figures, and that just opened the floodgates.
Jason started by collecting the card backs, but soon moved on to the boxed figures. In time, he amassed one of the largest collections in the galaxy. Figures in this condition will fetch a stack of galactic credits. Prices start at around £200, but can go as high as £8,000 for the rarest items. But over the last few years, Jason and other collectors noticed increasing numbers of high-quality boxed figures coming onto the market. Gradually, they became suspicious of one prominent seller.
He had a seemingly endless supply of nice German and Palatoy figures to sell, and has been selling these for 20 years.
Through a chance conversation, the small band of collectors discovered this document, a sales list. Their source was a toy dealer who revealed that in 1984, just as the Palatoy factory in Colville was being closed down, he'd been discreetly offered the contents of the list, a job lot of thousands of card backs and bubbles. The dealer told the collectors he decided not to buy the cards, but Fake Britain has seen evidence that another individual did purchase the list. Now, what if original card backs and bubbles had been paired with second-hand repainted figures and then sold as boxed mint figures? This would explain the mysterious collector's seemingly inexhaustible supply of mint-condition figures. Soon, news came confirming their worst fears.
He was selling on eBay through one account large amounts of particular figures, and then on a secret eBay account he kept buying up loose figures for the exact figures that he was short based on what was in the list. At that point it looks like a production line. You know, they come in one eBay account and they go out the other one, you know, all assembled.
The fakery has cost Jason a substantial sum.
I had a run of 16 of these Palatoy Alpha 90 Return of the Jedi cards. As it turns out, every single one of them was made by the faker in question. I sold them all at that point, got about half my money back. I mean, overall, on those cards, I'm probably down about £2,000.
When selling these card backs, Jason had clearly stated that the cards he was selling were not true originals. As a result, he only got half the price. But not every seller is aware they're flogging a fake.
And if you look on eBay any day of the week, you'll see a dozen of these things on there, and maybe half of them have been declared, half of them haven't.
What isn't in doubt is that the faker has made a lot of money.
If you make a conservative estimate and say he sold each figure for maybe £100, and he sold 100 a year, and he's done it for 20 years, that's £200,000 right there.
Jason and a small group of collectors set about identifying the signs of fakery. This archive footage from the Palatoy factory provided the collectors with a vital clue. The bubbles were pressed to the individual boxes by a machine. The faker wouldn't have had access to this kind of industrial machinery, so the small band of collectors started examining the seal on some of the boxed figures in their possession. They discovered crude attempts to seal the bubble onto the card back.
The most common thing with all the cards that he produced is the fact that they are absolutely case fresh. The one on the left is a genuine mint on card, and the one on the right is from the faker. And you can see on the back of the card that the genuine one, which was pressed in the factory, has a bigger indent round the back of the bubble on the back of the card than the faker's card, which is flat.
And some examples within Jason's collection reveal evidence of the faker's attempt to seal the bubble to the card.
So essentially we've got here a faker card that's been opened and an actual shop sold card which has been opened. With the real card you can see that there's the remnants of a shop sticker, and you can see there's a lot more card being taken off when the bubble was removed because it was obviously a lot more firmly attached, whereas card on the left from the faker has left very little impression when the bubble was taken off.
And if you look closely, there's a clue that this card was sealed with something other than an industrial machine.
And you can actually see, if you hold it in the light, you can see an iron mark going all the way across the card where the iron was applied.
We'll start on the Star Wars first then, lot number 1.
Chris Aston is an auctioneer specialising in modern toys, and Star Wars is his top seller.
£120, the bid's there, 130.
With potentially 6,000 or 7,000 faked figures out there, hundreds of collectors could be affected by the suspected fakery.
220 now, looking for 240. Bids here at £220. Sold.
We asked Chris to take a look at the collection of one buyer who'd recently been purchasing large numbers online. Company director John Webb has only been collecting Star Wars figures for a short while, but he's amassed quite a collection.
Through here. Wow, fantastic.
Yeah, there you go.
I take it you're aiming for pretty high quality in terms of condition then, by the looks of it. So we've got an Imperial Stormtrooper.
This is bought off eBay.
What's the most you've seen one?
I've seen
Sell it
some of these
for
go
otherwise?
for 250, 300.
Yeah,
no
yeah.
problem.
So the first thing I'm looking at is the actual seal on the bubble where it's been pressed down.
Mm-hmm.
We can't really see like an imprint from the machine that's pushed it down. My inkling is that this is a fake.
Another figure has caught Chris's eye.
The imprint just definitely not the same on these figures. That's like as if someone's just pressed it down hard with their finger. Still definitely worth money. 50%, maybe 60% less than what it would be if it was 100% right.
No, it's just one of those things, isn't it?
It looks like there are definitely 2 fakes in John's collection. Disappointing for him. Interesting to see them as part of a big collection where the vast majority of it is genuine, and it just shows how somebody can easily be duped.
It was really useful having Chris to come along. Clearly he knows his stuff, he knows a lot about the subject, and he was able to give me some pointers. He's verified that most of the stuff is genuine. It's very disappointing that these 2 particular items may be fakes.
Dozens of collectors have had to come to terms with sizable losses as a result of the fakery.
Well, it was the biggest scandal in vintage Star Wars collecting that there's ever been, and lots of people were furious about it. I kind of came to realise that I'd lost, thousands of pounds in it. I was suitably upset about that. It kind of tainted the whole collecting kind of hobby for me for a bit. But then, I came to terms with it. I came up with a plan of action and moved on.
That's all from Fake Britain. Goodbye.